We are back in New York after spending about 3 months out west with the Unimog. We did most of our build, I would say 85–90%, and then we decided to take it on a shakedown trip before we finished up that last 10% to see what we needed, what we wanted, how the things that we built were working. And there are a few things that we didn't show you.
We're going to show you some of the things that really worked out, some things that broke, some things we loved, and some things we didn't, and then ideas we have to either fix or upgrade. Just after actually using the vehicle, you get to kind of see what you need to do. That's always kind of the case. Until you start driving it, you're not 100% sure on everything.
We also want to say just a huge thank you to everyone for watching all of our Overland videos with the Unimog. It was so much fun to film those videos of us actually out there using, living, driving, camping, just being in the Unimog after the build. It was a blast to be out west with it and share all of that with you guys. So let's jump right in. The first category, things that broke.
The first major mechanical issue we had was that airline that blew, which made us lose pressure, which meant we couldn't move the truck because we didn't have the pressure to release the parking brake.
One of my hoses definitely leaking pretty bad. It's gonna need to be replaced. For now, I'm gonna see if duct tape will hold it. It's a good way to start the trip off-road.
Luckily, this airline leak happened right at the beginning of an overland route we were about to do, actually our very first route. And it could have been so much worse if we were even halfway through or a little farther down the trail. It would have been so much harder to get out of that situation. So we were really lucky with where it happened. We could head back to a friend's house. We were able to order the parts and fix it. So no mechanic involved. We didn't get towed, but that was kind of our first major truck issue. Second big issue we had, this is the thing that we actually never showed you. We filmed this whole segment and it didn't fit into any of our videos, but we really wanted to talk about it and touch upon it. It just didn't fit into one of the episodes. That is our roof rack. We were driving down in southern Arizona. We came out of a gas station about to get back on the highway and we heard this huge popping noise. It sounded like it came from the roof. We pulled over immediately and discovered that one of the connecting pieces that goes between our roof rack and the body of the truck, like the side of the cab, had actually popped. The weld had broken completely. So I'm gonna stop telling you about it because we have all of the footage of this happening and we're gonna roll that now.
It appears we popped the weld, folks. This bar that's out here kind of stabilizes the roof rack. You heard a pop and get out, and yeah, the plate's not welded anymore. So trying to figure out a quick solution, temporary solution, before we can get to a welder. Not sure if I can do anything pressure sharp. I'll try. I guess we should have welded both sides.
We were leaving a gas station. We weren't even on the highway driving fast. We were just pulling out of a gas station and we heard a pop, like a loud popping noise. The little bracket that's on the top of the cab that holds the roof rack on, the weld that connects this bar to the bracket popped. It's not a catastrophic failure, like this is not gonna cause the roof rack to come off of the roof, but if we don't deal with it long term, it could put pressure on the other parts of the roof rack, so we definitely want to get that welded.
I don't think there's really much I can do with this right now. There's really no way to strap it down. I'm really just trying to stop the rattling, because if I hold it, my head out the window, it doesn't really rattle.
And we're actually on this absolutely gorgeous rural Arizona road. Look at this. It's so beautiful. It's lined by these big trees, super open. There's nobody else out here. It's sunset also. Well, I guess we have to just keep listening to the rattling. And we decided we're gonna get to a camp spot, sleep for the night because it is a Sunday night and it's getting dark. And then in the morning, we are going to wake up, find somebody to weld this. What do you think, Drew?
Having a great time.
We'll see you in the morning.
Is that right, Lisa? Just gotta hold it the whole time. No big deal. The adventure never ends.
Morning, folks. So yesterday you saw that we had one of the welds pop on the roof rack. Fortunately, that's sort of the supporting bar that keeps the rest of the main structure from being able to move. So not the biggest problem immediately, but over time it has to be fixed, basically, because if it doesn't get fixed, there's a lot of stress on everything and it will probably cause a bigger problem. Even knowing it was not a huge deal, stressful driving to camp because it's kind of banging.
Yeah, it wasn't that we feared that the roof rack would like break off of the cab and fall off the vehicle. It was just this constant like metal on metal banging noise as we're driving. And of course, we had to go find a camp spot. So we had to drive a dirt road and it had washboard on it and it was a little rutted out. And so the banging just gets worse and worse. And that's just stressful. That noise, very stressful.
Yeah, but this morning we called a welder in town, next town over here, and he seems willing to help. So we're gonna drive over there. Hopefully they can fix this.
If I had a welder or we were at the shop, I could fix this so easily. But because we're on the road, we have to go find someone that has the equipment to fix it for us. Are they wrestling back there?
Oh, they are. They know the camera's on, so they're trying to be loud.
So that is the itinerary for today. We are going to go to this fabrication shop. They say that they'll be able to help us, so hopefully it won't be too big of a job. They can just grind that Raptor liner off, put a few welds front and back. We should be good to go.
Yeah, let's go do that and see how it plays out.
Yeah, let's get back into town and off of this dirt road. So let's show you what this roof rack injury actually looks like.
Popped right off.
So I think it's pretty clear that it wants to be farther in. So maybe we torqued it out too much before we welded it. I don't know. It's tough to say. This cab definitely flexes a lot. So maybe we'll weld it where it wants to sit. And it definitely needs a weld in the front and the back. Should have done that originally. But lessons learned, I guess. Yeah, you can see it. You can separate it. Just broke right down the center. There's that noise. Oh man.
Yeah, it's stressful.
Just that noise like grates on your nerves. Even though we're not afraid that it's gonna completely come off the roof, just that noise makes you feel like you're breaking down.
It's pretty awful.
It is. It's so bad. I don't love it. We have 29 miles to go, guys.
Mostly dirt road, so
Mostly dirt road.
it's gonna be stressful.
We didn't come into this dirt road 29 miles last night, but it wants us to kind of go around through another dirt road to get to the shop, so here we go.
Alright, pulling into Shaw's. See if these guys can help us out.
Looks promising. Good. Called a bit earlier about needing a little weld to fix a part of a roof rack.
Okay.
On my truck here.
Alright, he doesn't seem too concerned at all, so I'm just gonna have to grind off the Raptor liner. Should could be an issue though. Good to find a shop like this, man. They're not everywhere. Yeah, and the truck's been great. We haven't had any issues.
Or whatever. Yeah, you get that up there, then back down and everything.
Exactly.
So the repair is done. They made really quick work of that. Looks a little bit like the shop back home, actually. So I'm gonna show you the repair job. Super quick, super easy.
That's awesome. Man, lucky to find a shop like this. Knock that right out. Took them like 15 minutes. Looks like it's pretty cool now. We're good to go. Yeah. That'll do a little better than not being connected.
Huge thank you to Shaw's Machine and Fabrication in Marana, Arizona. They got us in immediately as soon as we called. They welded it right up as soon as we got here. Really, really nice people. So huge thank you to them. It seemed like the roof rack bar just wants to sit a little bit farther in than it was welded originally. So we welded it the second time at that spot that it wants to sit. So hopefully it won't be under any more tension and it'll be a little more comfy up there.
Yeah, huge thanks to these guys. And if you need something weird like this done on the fly, they are right off the 10. So I imagine that we might be seeing some of you guys in the future.
Yeah.
They were super helpful though.
Huge, huge thank you to them.
All right, back on the road. Man, that was awesome. Whew, what a relief.
That is our roof rack saga.
Yeah, it was fun.
Driving and it clanking, it was horrible. It felt like the truck was falling apart.
It was very stressful. I mean, we pretty much knew it probably wasn't going to be an issue, especially for just that one day. But the sound was still just, makes you feel like things are breaking more. And
ever since we got the roof rack fixed, it has been perfectly fine. No issues, no more welds popping. It's not under any pressure anymore. So I think it was a necessary little adjustment that the roof rack decided to make.
yeah, it's where it wants to be. I still got to go up there and repaint the part that had to get cut and welded. But we bought the paint like the next day and it's been sitting in the hatch for like couple months.
Yeah, so if you look back at all our Overland episodes that we put out while we were on our trip, you can see that there is no paint on that side of the roof rack, and that's why.
That's a little Easter egg. We hid it in there for you.
Next thing that broke, some of our exterior lights came off the camper box from hitting trees, and a tree also hit our passenger side mirror.
Yep, definitely anticipated that happening to the lights, or a good chance of it happening. Bigger plan was to build kind of some deflection brush guards there. Didn't get to that job. So we weren't surprised at all when that happened, when the forest was getting so tight. Kind of was like, yeah, that kind of checks.
Yeah.
Not a huge deal. Kind of a good thing that they can pop off easy, because then it's easy repair. Nothing really got damaged.
Overall, I think the box just really needs brush guards. We are so tall. We're almost 11 feet 4 inches. So going through a forest, we're just going to hit a lot of trees.
Oh, yeah.
So brush guards are definitely in our future. The next 3 issues that we had were really kind of small things that didn't really amount to much, but we wanted to mention them. The first one is we had a few lights on the dash going on and off. You can see on the Unimog dash, there's a bunch of lights lined up all horizontally, and a few of them were going on and off, indicating things that were not happening with the truck.
So probably just like the sensor, the contact at the tank. It's old and rusty maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I have to try to dig and see if we can just clean it up.
Just do a little check-in. with the electrical in the cab. The next thing is our countertops. We used a type of wood for these countertops that we have never worked with before, and that is beech wood.
And we never have set out to get a certain kind of wood. We just bought the butcher block, and it's been 4 different woods, I believe, in the 4 different builds we used it. Never had an issue with the other 3 at all. This one though, very early on, we noticed it was separating a little bit at the seams. Pretty frustrating to have a brand new countertop do that.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure out what our game plan is with that.
In our bus, I think they may have been maple.
Yeah.
Never had a problem. With this one, the seams are just trash. They were separating immediately as soon as we put them in here and started to heat up the space. The hot and cold now going from really dry to humidity. Just everything in the build is settling into its spot as new wood does. And these countertops are not settling in a good spot. They're brand new. They should be good for years to come. So with the humidity, this crack gets larger and smaller. And now that it's very humid, the crack is a lot smaller. So I don't know if I'll try to repair it now that it's very humid or what we're gonna do, but cannot recommend beech at all. Next category, things we loved.
Oh yeah, like the truck itself.
The truck, number 1. Amazing. It's everything we hoped it would be. It's so much more capable than we could even use it for. It does things that no other vehicle can do, and it takes our house places that no one else can get a camper.
I think that's the big thing. We get a lot of comments. It's people on both sides are either like, wow, you're really going for it, or like, you're barely using that thing. For us, the point of having a truck this capable was so we could take our house to more extreme places and not be so stressed out. Mm-hmm. So things that might take your pickup truck 90% of its capability, we're doing at 40 or 50%, not sweating it at all. Could we go further? Yes. Will we push it sometime? Probably. But I don't really anticipate wanting to push it to like the 90 percentile. The point is to be able to get to really cool places and not be super stressed out. I think that's our point of having a truck like this.
Yeah, you probably won't see us on Hell's Revenge in Moab, but you never know. I mean, never say never. Second, the shower. And not only our indoor shower, but the outdoor shower as well. Just our entire shower setup.
Showers.
We have options.
2 of them. First of all, obviously the indoor shower was a huge kind of project that we worked on for over a year to develop. On paper in our heads and just kept going through it. That was one of the nice things of not actually getting to start this build for so long. I thought about that personally a long time. So once we got to the installation, it worked out really well. We had kind of thought about almost all the problems. We loved it. It's amazing. And the space it gives us back in this smaller box, I couldn't see doing it any other way once we figured it out. And it's great. We have no issues with it so far. No mold issues or it getting dirty. Yeah, I have no complaints so far.
The video that we put up about our collapsible shower had a really great reception. It got a lot of views and there were a lot of comments, both positive and negative, but a lot of the things that people were worried about are not an issue with the shower. Just like any camper shower, we let it dry before we put it away. And that's especially true with something that collapses like ours. But we did that with every shower in every build that we've had. The other thing is the paint that we used. We said we would follow up on this, and the paint we used in the shower is the paint that the entire interior of the camper is painted with. It worked out phenomenally. Really great. We weren't sure if after a little while it would start peeling or chipping or melting off the wall. We had no idea, but the guy at Sherwin-Williams who we consulted with said this was the paint that he would use if he was gonna do it. It's an industrial grade.
Yeah, well now it's been probably more like 5 months almost.
Maybe 6.
Yeah. Yeah, no problems. And the paint itself that is in the shower part still looks the same as the rest of the wall. I wondered if it might fade over time. I still think that's something you wouldn't see for probably a year or 2. Mm-hmm. So we'll keep our eye on that, but we'll have to just keep watching it. So far, Doing really good.
And the outdoor shower, when the weather is nice, there is truly nothing like showering outside. And when we were out in Arizona, now that it's summertime here in New York, it has been glorious to shower outside. I could talk about the shower forever. I love our shower. The next thing is the windows and the door. These are all from Tern Overland. They were one of our build partners. These windows are double pane acrylic, and our entry door is the Wildlands door. It has a security screen door on it. The security screen has been amazing. We frequently sleep with the door open and just the screen door shut, but all of the locking mechanisms are on the screen door.
Correct.
So you can have just as much security with just the screen door shut as you can with the entire door closed. The windows are double pane acrylic and they have built-in blind and screens. We never had screens on our windows because shuttle bus windows do not have screens. We never got around to installing them. Having screens has been life-changing. And having blackout blinds, especially when we were crossing the country, sleeping at truck stops, also life-changing. You can block out all the light. It was amazing.
Especially in the summer when it's 5 in the morning, it starts blasting in, and maybe you want to sleep till 6 or 7. You can have those closed the night before.
And the windows being double pane, this has been a big one for us. The Composite Box, part of the reason we chose it is for its insulation value. And so the windows are kind of in line with why we chose this style of box, and it adds some insulation value, whereas the shuttle bus windows were really a weak point of the whole build as far as heating and cooling went. We are going to do a review video on all of our Tern products coming up soon, so I won't talk too much about it, but the space just stays cooler in the summer, warmer in the winter. It's a true 4-season camper because of all of these build products.
Probably the next biggest thing after the truck itself is the Composite Box. Super happy with the Composite Box. After being in here for a few months and actually living in it, it confirmed all of our thoughts that we had about it ahead of time. It's definitely the superior platform to build any kind of camper or house into, both with its lightweight and its high insulation value. Lived in some very cold temperatures in the winter, as well as now it's pretty hot in the summer, and I can confirm it is way better than any van or bus I've ever been in. And yeah, I'm super happy with it. It's probably like the easiest medium to work with too. Once you get used to the process of using adhesives and stuff like that, which is foreign to us at first, I think it's the best of anything we've done.
And just the basic construction of our box. Shout out to Atkinson Boss in the UK. They are the ones that built our box. We've had no leaks, no issues with how it's constructed. They did so well, just all of the finishing, like the caulking inside and outside. Shout out to them because it's a really beautifully constructed box and it was a perfect base to build our house in. A few rapid fire things, really small ones. The laundry chute. We never had a solution for laundry in our bus. You've heard us talk about this before, and having a dedicated laundry chute, a spot to put our bag, a way to get dirty clothes out of our living space, life-changing. We are going to make one change to the laundry chute. It currently feeds from the top and we're feeding it from the front of the closet. We'll show you all that coming up in a few videos. The last thing, the toilet. This is the Trelino Toilet. It is our first composting toilet, and we truly loved this once we started using it. It's so easy to use. That's why we like it, because it's basic. From my understanding, they're calling composting toilets a setup where it separates the liquids from the solids. So this toilet's kind of doing that at the most basic level. In the past, we had a cassette toilet, which would essentially just mix everything together into one reservoir, and then you had to go dump that. So actually separating them and keeping the solids dry with some sort of litter and then keeping the liquids separate. It doesn't smell. It fits right under our booth where the shower slides out. Overall, it just really works for our space.
Yeah, it's small, fits in there well. So that's what it needs to do. That's all we asked for.
The next section is a two-parter. Things that we thought we needed but didn't, and things that we needed and didn't have. What we thought we needed but actually realized that we don't. A pass-through. between the cab and the camper.
Yeah, we were pretty dead set on getting this before we built the box. This is a project we didn't get done before we left. It's a pretty intense job because the margins are really small. The way the Unimog cab sits relative to the box, particularly with our couch orientation in here, we had about a 22-inch window to work with. So we decided to put that off. And after being in here a few months, we have slowly kind of thought we don't even want to do it. It's not completely out that we'll never do it, but at this point, we kind of like it being isolated. It feels more like your house. Once again, like I was saying, the margins of getting that job done correctly is kind of risky. So I think we have a lot of things we'd rather get done ahead of time. And before we were like, gotta do it. Now, I don't know. We'll see in the future, but right now, no.
I will say that we wanted to do this project for safety reasons. If something was going on outside the camper, maybe in the middle of the night, and you wanted to drive away without having to go outside and maybe confront something sketchy that was happening, you could just go through the pass-through, get into the cab, and drive away. However, it is a Unimog, and it has a whole startup process. You're not just turning it on and driving away. So I'm not really sure that the amount of work and putting it all in really justifies a situation that may or may not happen. At this point, we're not really feeling that it's worth it. And we like the house to feel like the house. There's no connection to the cab. It feels like it's its own independent space.
Yeah, pros and cons. At this point, we're going to push that way down the list and then maybe reconsider it in the future.
Things we needed and didn't have. Outdoor storage boxes.
Oh yeah.
We were very low on storage for this trip. And that kind of brings me to one of the other points on this part of the list. Something we really needed and didn't have was a more expansive spare parts kit. So both of these kind of go hand in hand. We didn't have a more extensive spare parts kit because we really couldn't carry much more than we had. We did have a little bit. We weren't completely unprepared, but the problem that we had, we did not have parts for that, so we're learning as we go. We really need those external storage boxes to carry like all our winch accessories, recovery items, all the spare parts, tools, all of that can go outside, and then we can have the storage under our bed back.
Yeah, those boxes are going to open up a lot of things for us. Pretty big project. That's definitely one of the next big things we'll be doing, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be awesome. We're going to be also doing outdoor kitchen with that. So very exciting stuff. But yeah, we knew we needed them, just didn't have time to do them. And we felt it. It was a little bit pinched for storage. Another thing we need to improve is the tire cover, as well as getting a cover for the winch. We did get something up on the tire ahead of time. We just kind of made a tarp work, and that was fine most of the way, but it did start to make a lot of noise. And then one day we had a very windy day and it started ripping it off. So it was making horrible sounds. So I went up there and took it off on the side of the road. So we need to make like one that actually fits the tire just right.
Yeah, you can see in the earlier videos, the tarp is on the tire, and by the end, it's just the tire up on the roof rack. We totally took the tarp off. It really ran its course. And we don't want that spare up there completely unprotected from UV. So we're going to get some kind of fabric that's UV protectant and just make a custom tire cover. Because it turns out you can't just buy a tire cover for 43-inch tires.
Not around here.
Who would have thought?
I wonder if they might have that in like Australia or UK where there's more Unimogs, but we haven't been able to find it online. The last thing we needed and didn't have was an exhaust stack. So this is a project we've thought about for a long time. We want to move the exhaust for a couple reasons. First off, it takes a lot of space under there with the exhaust and the muffler and everything. If we move it, that'll open up space for either another fuel tank or a storage box or some combination of the two, which will be really useful. Right now that space is not being used very well. The other thing we noticed at really slow speeds, so when you're doing like working gears off-road, if the wind kind of blows back at you, you start getting a little bit of that exhaust. Because, you know, we don't have air conditioning in the cab, so if it's warm out, that window is open, or they're both open. It's not the worst, but if you're moving very slow, the exhaust, it's not going to dissipate fast enough. So if the wind blows it in, kind of get a little bit. So we would like to maybe get it up above. We've seen people modify these in different ways. Pretty big project though, so we have put it off for a while, and we'll see what we come up with, but it should open up a lot of space down there.
The next category is things that we want to change. Well, things that we haven't talked about
Some
yet.
of these things have crossover, but
We've talked about a lot of things. Of the things that we haven't talked about, these are a few things we want to change. First up, entry steps into the camper. If you watched our build series, you know that we struggled a bit with this setup. We ordered scissor steps and they're almost too short and we weren't sure what to do. We wanted to build a porch and we didn't get to it. It was a whole thing. Well, spoiler alert, they were just as annoying as we thought they were going to be. So one of the big projects is building an actual pull-out kind of deck, if you will, that's on drawer slides, and then we can put some steps off of that deck. It's just a little bit treacherous to open the door, step down onto this tiny little step, and then have a really quick spread to the ground. It's a bit difficult for the dogs. It can be difficult for us at times. I just know there's going to be an injury on those steps if we leave them. So we're really looking forward to kind of reconfiguring that whole area. Keeping with the theme of steps, the dog steps. Again, if you were following along, you saw that Mateo jumped off of our bed when the slippery FRP floor was in here. He landed funny, he hurt his back in some way, and he stopped using his back legs. It was a terrible time for us personally, just not knowing if he was ever going to walk again. The vet couldn't tell us yes or no. It was just kind of how he recovered. And that was when we knew we needed a way for the dogs to get up and down off of this bed because it is pretty high and we have small dogs. I always knew that I wanted to build custom steps because this is a very custom space and that's kind of what it needs in order for it to be functional, but we were pressed for time. So we just ordered some collapsible dog steps off of Amazon and they worked fine for these last few months, but they definitely were not a long-term solution. We ended up just sliding them all around the camper. They took up so much floor space and we have very little floor space.
You're having to slide it this way to get into that cupboard and slide it this way to get the pantry open. That was kind of a constant dance. They did their job, and for what they are, I actually think they're great. Just not for in here. It's just too small. So that's something that we're going to be changing.
Another thing is better shoe storage. The open spot underneath our booth couch where the table goes, there's a big open compartment underneath, and the entire time it was a wreck. It was just all kinds of stuff shoved under there. Most of it was camera equipment and shoes. So I'm really looking forward to coming up with some kind of shoe storage solution.
Shoe storage solution. Kind of sounds like a band name. The last thing up today is talking about our appliances, how they functioned, and just the major systems in general, like plumbing and electric, how it all worked out.
The first thing is the fridge. This is the Vitrifrigo fridge. It needs to be ventilated. That was a big lesson that we learned, is that our fridge needs more ventilation. We installed a vent just like it said in the manual, but really it needs more. So we did a little bit of research, maybe an additional vent, a hatch, a little 12-volt fan, maybe 1 or 2 fans. We're gonna play around with it, but it just needs more ventilation back there.
Yeah, it worked well until you started pushing that 85, 90 degree mark, and then it started to struggle a bit. And we didn't know what was happening at first. We eventually realized, yeah, things were freezing over. And even internally, it was freezing over. That's another thing we learned about it, was it's pretty dependent on the little fan in there. Our last setup was a freezer turned into a fridge. There was no fan. Not something we even really considered. But there's a small fan in this fridge. And if it is working too hard because it's too warm and not ventilating enough, it seems that it slowly builds up ice, up to the point where it started building up to where the fan is and blocked the fan from spinning. Mm-hmm. So it was still doing its job with the compressor to create the cold air, but it couldn't push it into the compartments. So then the fridge started getting warm freezer not quite as cold. So we had to defrost it a couple times. We're hoping that once we ventilate it, the space better behind the fridge, that maybe that'll resolve that issue as well. Other than that, it's really awesome, but this is something like, we didn't expect, didn't love it, and we're gonna have to improve it.
The next thing is the oven and stove. So these are diesel appliances. They're from Wallas. Both of these appliances worked really, really well. We made a lot of pizzas in that oven. The stove is also our heater. And so for these two appliances, when we put the pipe into the diesel tank that brings the diesel up for both the oven and the stove, we didn't get it right to the bottom of the tank. So we did have a few times when we tried to start the stove that our diesel tank was too low to start it. So that's on us. We do need to extend that little tube in there because we really had to watch how much fuel we had in the tank so that we'd be able to cook dinner that night.
Yeah, I didn't want it to go all the way to the bottom and risk the chance of like using too much fuel cooking. But in retrospect, if I'm that oblivious about my driving fuel situation, that's probably on me. So I was just a little too safe with cutting it a bit shorter than I should have. Fortunately, we have those two jerry cans on the back of the rig. There was one time where we had to pour fuel from the jerry cans in there so we could use our oven. I'll probably just replace that one with a slightly longer one, added like 2 inches to it, and then we won't have that problem anymore. Other issue we noticed, which kind of goes in line with the dipstick not reaching the bottom of the tank. Sometimes if the fuel isn't super full, we would notice we'd start the stove up, it would start up and go, but then it would shut itself off. Figure out what was happening was that fuel was probably sloshing around in there and some air got into the little dipstick line that goes to the stove. So it would start, burn the fuel in the line, but then get to that empty spot and shut itself off as a safety. So if we did have that issue, we now know, okay, just start it up again. It's not gonna be a problem. We know we have fuel in there. Let's talk power system. This is a monster. It's been amazing. We have 1,500 watts of solar. They are bifacial panels that actually can max out closer to 600 watts per panel. We've actually seen it well over 1,500 watts, which is just incredible. And then the battery bank is 1,120 amp hours, which is pretty massive. We have not had any issues with power. We are producing way more than we're using every day, that's the idea. We wanted to use the maximum amount of the space on the roof we could. And the big thing is we're setting ourselves up to be able to run that off-grid air conditioner. And based on the math so far, it's gonna work. So far, really happy with the battery cells I chose and happy with the BMS. We've used the Electrode Akkus in the past. I really prefer it to anything else I've used. So I have no complaints there. Nothing really major to report, which is good.
That is good. As far as a power system goes, that's good news. One really fun thing that came up with the power system, if you're following us on Instagram, you already saw this, but we posted pictures of us charging my friend's Tesla off of the power system in the Unimog. There's just something about the picture of a Unimog charging a Tesla. They're just the complete opposites, and it was a really funny picture. But we did actually charge it overnight. My friend bought a Tesla and she got free charging for 6 months, so she decided to take a road trip. She came to visit us, and of course we were in the middle of nowhere, so she drove the Tesla out there. We recharged it overnight, and then she had some more miles to get back to another charger. So kind of a cool experience.
Yeah, pretty funny, and it really speaks to the power system and how much of a monster it really is. Now, obviously, we're not running a supercharger like, they'll use at a grocery store, which is pushing an incredible amount of power. They have just a trickle charger, so they can plug it into a normal like house outlet, an AC outlet. And I think they said it got about 5 miles of range per hour. We were asking him how much power it pulled, and I did the math. I'm like, oh, that's about 1,400 watts. That's about what we produce at the peak of the day. So at one point we had it plugged in there in the day, and we were just trickling their battery and breaking even. I think we were even like at 100 watt surplus, which is pretty insane. Yeah, you're not going to charge it super fast and get 100 miles of range, but we were able to get her, 50 miles of range from hanging out that day and that evening. Because our battery capacity being as large as it is as well, we could run it with no solar for, I think, probably like 12 hours or something. So it was good. We were really out there. She would have been fine, but it was nice to be able to top off. She's like, okay, I got a few more miles. I know I can get back to the next supercharger. Everything's worked good. Water heaters work good. That's we have that on 24 volt. Fridge. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. It's been like the most impressive power system we've built yet.
And speaking of water, our last system is the water system. We have 100 gallons of fresh water under our bed. This truck has no problem carrying 100 gallons of water out into the backcountry, so we figured we might as well put as much as we could of the thing that you always run out of first, water. Very happy with the water filters that we chose.
In the past, we had the 75 gallons. It always felt like 10 days easy, 14, 15 days if we were conserving. With the 100 gallons, it's 14 days easy, probably 3 weeks just conserving, and you may be able to even go a little further if you really know you're not going to get to water. But it's pretty rare you're going that long, because also your food's probably out by then. But I would say we probably are running out of food before water now, which is pretty cool.
All right, that does it for our recap from our Shakedown trip. Things we wanted to change, things we needed, didn't have, what we didn't show you. Circling back on some of the things that you saw in the build series. Maybe after a year or so, we'll update you again on some of these things and how they're working. But our trip out west was a great test for everything that we built and installed in the truck.
Did a great job all the way out, off-roads, all the way back. Only that one airline, no other real issues. Yeah, it's been awesome.
To be honest, when we started the trip, we left New York, we pulled out of the shop. That was when the test began, because this is a 37-year-old ex-military truck. It did have a bit of a top up in the UK before it got to us, but really once you start putting pressure on all of those old parts, things start to fail. So as soon as we left, we really had no idea what we were going to encounter, and just one little dry rotted airline that caused us a few days of being stuck in Phoenix is not bad at all. So absolutely thrilled with the truck. We couldn't have asked for anything better.
MVP Moose.
It is the MVP. Moose is the real star of the show. That's all we have for you. Thank you guys for watching our recap, and we have some fun build videos coming up in the next few weeks. We are going to install our air conditioner, and then we are going to start in on all of these projects that we just talked about, so we will see you then.
Later.